Hello, my name's Dave Boardman. I've been the module convener for Events and Society for the last few months, and with a team that includes your tutor in whichever BIMM college you're in. We have created this module, scheme of work, and we're busy creating extra online bits which should appear in your Moodle, just as this video has done. The working group for this, as I say, your tutors are a fascinating bunch of people with quite a wide range of expertise and experiences. We have event managers, we have a bass player, at least one. We have stage management, tour management. It's been a major part of people's lives. We have one who's been involved in the Royal Philharmonic. We have one who's walked on fire. I will leave it up to you to find out a bit more about your own tutor and which one is the fire walker. Right, the module itself. The module is very much about how any event fits in with the society and the time it is happening. For example, you've probably all heard of Woodstock 1969, 3 days of peace and love and music and art. We'll be looking at this and we'll probably come to the conclusion that it could have only happened as it did in 1969, with everything that was going on in the USA at the time and around the world. For example, could Woodstock have been Woodstock without the Vietnam War happening on a different continent and lots of people in America being very much against it and therefore looking for alternative lifestyles, for example? You could organise a festival now, call it Woodstock, but it would not be the same sort of thing. So we'll be looking at those sorts of issues. Another example is Glastonbury. Many of you will have been to Glastonbury. Now in 1970, Glastonbury was really a bit of a scruffy, hippie rock festival. And these days, it could be argued, it's a middle-class holiday destination. So Glastonbury, any event itself, has changed very much over time. Right, I'm going to share my screen with you. And we'll run through a little bit about the course itself. Okay, the course is going to be, the module is going to be called Events in Society. Back to that later. Let us, oops, there. The delivery, you will be in class, when I say in class, in front of your laptop or other device for a 90-minute class. This will happen online. You should be aware most of your classes are going to be online, certainly up to January. So that 90 minutes will be determined by your local tutor, but made up of lecture, discussion, group work, individual activities, and what have you. On top of that, there is also approximately an hour of pre-prepared online activities, videos, things to read, maybe quizzes, exercises for you. You will find them on Moodle just as, well, I was going to say hopefully you found this, but really you must have found this. The scheme of work. We will look at the definition of what an event is and how varied the concept of events are. What makes something an event? Is it that it's organised? Is it that it's money-making? Is it spontaneous? Do we class a riot as an event? Because sometimes Stonewall riots in New York in 1969 led to the creation of pride marches, and parades, which is still going on. Right? It wasn't a planned activity, but it had a lot of consequences. We'll look at how events have changed over the years. The obvious one would be Christmas. Christmas there's always been a sort of festival around about the end of December, around about the solstice time. The Romans called it Saturnalia. Pagans called it Yule. Christians decided that it would be a handy time to celebrate the birth of their saviour. But is it secular? You know, do you have to be Christian to worry about to celebrate Christmas? Um, and is it just a big commercial event now? So look at how things have changed. That's just one example. Weeks 3 and 4, we will look at social perspectives, philosophy, sociology, views on how the world works. We will look at structural and individual, more individualist ways of viewing the world. For example, a Marxist would see the capitalist society as divided between sort of the owners of the means of production and the rest of us. They employ us, we work for them. That is the basis of how society works, and events fit within that. The postmodernist, more individual-based philosophies would look at it very differently and wouldn't really worry too much about whether there's a class system or not. We look at how they work and the consequences of them for understanding events. Week 5, we will have some guest speakers. We will very much be looking at inviting people who can answer the questions that you are asked to put to your tutors in week 1. 6, we will look at diversity of events, the very wide range of events and the very wide range of peoples who may come to those events. One of the simple things is England. Looks like every small English village has some kind of wacky festival going on, rolling cheese down the side of a hill, decorating scarecrows, setting fire to sort of things on the top of their heads, all kinds of weird things. We were looking at a lot of them, as well as how to get a diverse range of people into an event. Week 7 will be on to sustainability. Sustainability is important. One thing you will find is that sustainability has 3 aspects. It has the environment, it has the society, the people who are in that environment, and has economic factors. Right. So you want your event to be sustainable in that you can afford to do it again next year, but also sustainability, looking at sustainability in terms of doing no damage or enhancing the local community and the local environment. Moving on from there, we'll be looking at globalization and the technology behind globalization. When I was a kid, which is a very long time ago, if you wanted to contact someone in a different country, it might take several days for your letter that you'd have to handwrite to get to them and back. Something major piece of news happened, and it might take a few days to get film of that event back to the TV studios in London or wherever for them to relay the pictures to you. Now, these days, something happens somewhere in the world, and it's on Twitter. There's handheld camera information immediately. What difference has all of that made? We will also look at legal issues and how things have changed quite dramatically legally. Again, classic example, you will have all hopefully heard of the Hillsborough disaster in 1989. From that, we get lots of legal changes in terms of health and safety. We get the Green Guide in how to organise sports events and design sports stadia, for example. We will look at space and design and how the entrance to any kind of building, venue, festival sets the scene for what's coming later. So we'll be looking at design issues. In other parts of the course, as you go through it, you will learn more about actually designing that space. And finally, we will evaluate history. What is history? One of those questions rarely asked. What is history? Is history things that happened in the past? Or is history what we today think happened in the past? And what we think is important, we go looking for what we think is important in the past. If you're really into one view of society, you really need to know how when there was kings, queens, presidents, etc., etc. Another way of looking at society might make you want to think about how things were for the ordinary folk, as people often call us. And are you aiming an event at the elite or at the ordinary folk? And these are the things that we'll be looking at. Just a reminder that we can look at events in very, very different ways. What they mean to the people going to them, what they mean to social, cultural commentators, to sociologists, to philosophers, to governments, to media in particular, why any event happened as it did when it did. Right, what its legacy is. This is the important stuff. The illustration there I show you. Some people were very, very upset when Margaret Thatcher died. As you can see, other people cracked out the champagne. So it implies very different attitudes towards anything that Thatcher did and anything she was involved in. And we'll be looking at how and why people get such diverse views. The assignment itself, you will look at an event of global significance. Gives you some examples on that. The Olympics, Pride, which you've already mentioned, a royal wedding, nice picture of himself and the American actress Meghan something or other. Also, you will look at the context of that event. How it affected communities socially, politically, financially, environmentally. You look at relevant historical developments. For example, if you're talking about an event that happened this summer, the context is COVID and lockdown and what have you. Right. So you will be looking at what goes on in society that influences that event, and you will be writing about that. Quick example, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, the Arsenal player there, taking the knee, holding up his hand. What does that mean? That means that there's a symbol there, an anti-racist Black Lives Matter symbol. Did he just think about it and come up with that himself? No, he didn't. The Football Association has suggested that all players do that. The precursor to that is Colin Kaepernick, American football player, who kneeled down when the national anthem is played before their games. For that, the president, Mr. Trump, called him, sorry for the language, an unpatriotic son of a bitch. Now we have all the Premier League footballers in this country taking the knee. So there's two very different views there on that event. That's important to look at. So if you're writing about anything to do with Black Lives Matter, where did the idea come from? How long is the history of racism, particularly in the USA? Right. So you'll have to do that. I think it's the 8th of January that assignment is due. There are a couple of ways of doing it. Have a chat with your tutors about it. And so this is Welcome to Events in Society. You will find out how come Santa Claus used to be dressed in green and how come he is now dressed in red. We will look at the imagery of and the design of festivals. Look at the back of John Sebastian there at Woodstock in 1969. One stage, 500,000 people there. Compare that to Boomtown. I've lost count of how many stages there were at Boomtown, to be quite honest. But it's all much more fragmented and diverse. We'll also be looking at the difference between the Olympics, things like the Olympics, the World Cup, and sports events in your local school. This is a fascinating module. It will very much introduce you to new ideas. This is the theoretical element of this course, or this is the introduction to the theoretical element of this course, and I very much hope you embrace the whole course, this in particular, because this will inform lots of aspects of the course to come. So remember, study events and society and how they interact, and this will make you a better event manager. Okay, so I will see some of you in Manchester. I will maybe see some of you in other parts of the country, other parts of the module. You'll certainly see me once or twice more. Okay, thanks, good luck, and remember, don't just do the course, enjoy it. Thank you.